Good morning, all of you.
Good morning, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Good morning. All right, so today, in continuation with the same chapter, attempts to civilize and educate the native, we will start with the evil effects of colonial education. So, if you remember, we were already having a look at Mahatma Gandhi's view on education, and we saw that though earlier Mahatma Gandhi he himself was a beneficiary of Western education, means he himself has received the benefits of Western education for a long time, but later on in his life, like in mid 30s, he became opposed to the British or the Western education so much that he said that the Western education it is enslaving the Indians. And later on in his life, he described that real freedom will come to us only when we will free ourselves from the domination of the Western culture, Western education, and the Western way of living. And he said that emancipation of freedom from this culture will mean real freedom for us. So we'll continue with Mahatma Gandhi's view on education, and he said that colonial education it created an inferiority complex among the children and destroyed the pride that they had in their culture. Many times what happens with people if they're not able to speak properly in English, they're not very fluent. Then they feel, then they have this complex and they don't speak much in public where they're supposed to use English, and so they feel bad about themselves that knowing that they cannot speak in this language, and so that is what he said that it is creating a inferiority complex in the children, and it destroyed the pride that they had in their own culture. Means now they are attracted towards a different language, a foreign language and a foreign way of life, and so they are looking down on their own culture. And so according to Mahatma Gandhi, colonial or modern education it was sinful, poisonous, and it also made Indians slaves. So Gandhiji he
Ma'am,
want
your voice is not clear.
Ma'am, your voice is not coming.
not coming.
Ma'am, your voice is not coming.
Beta, here the network is okay. I don't know why is that happening. Is it better now? Are you able to
Yes,
hear?
ma'am.
Okay. All right. So
Yes, ma'am.
okay, okay, beta. So Gandhiji, he wanted an education that could help Indians recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. He wanted the Indians to have an education that will uh, bring about self-respect and a sense of dignity among themselves. And so he believed that Indian languages should be the medium of instruction in schools here. And he said that English, it crippled the Indians. It disabled the Indians. Means Indians were not able to do or perform as per their abilities because English it crippled them. It made them slaves, and so English educated Indians now they spoke a foreign language and they despise their own local culture, and they failed to connect to the masses because now they were talking in a foreign language and English language, and they thought that now they were up and beyond the other masses, the other people of this country here, and so they failed to connect to the masses here. And Mahatma Gandhi he said that education it needs to develop a person's mind and soul, and we cannot call the ability to learn, ability to read and write as education. Now that is not education. By education he meant an all round development and all round bringing about the best in a child, whether be in his body, mind or spirit. So Gandhiji, though he condemned and rejected the colonial education, but in its place he also put forward a alternative. And now, firstly, he was opposed to the modern machinery. So he was opposed to this modern machinery, and means this mechanization. He was opposed to that, and because when he saw the condition of the women workers who were working in the mills of Bombay. So he saw that they led very hard lives, miserable lives, working for such long hours, their salary not very nice, and their working condition, their living quarters not very good. And so he was shocked by these conditions, and he made the point that before these mills were introduced, these women, they were not starving, they were they were still living and surviving. And within this context of having a machine less society, within this concept of a machineless society, he developed his ideas of on education, and the focal point of his proposal was the introduction of productive handicrafts in the school curriculum. And the idea was not simply to introduce his idea was not simply to introduce handicrafts just as a compulsory subject, but to make the learning of a craft as a centerpiece, means the main point, the pivot according around which the whole system of education worked. So that is what he wanted. And now that meant complete a radical restructuring, means a complete restructuring of the school curriculum. Why? Because in India, the productive handicrafts, they have been associated with the lowest groups in the caste system. All right, which were the four castes according to the caste system prevalent in India? What were the four castes?
Ma'am, Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra.
Huh. Yes. So Brahman, Kshatriyas, Vaishya, and Shudras. So these were the four castes, and these productive handicrafts, they have been associated with the lowest groups in this hierarchy of the caste system. And uh, crafts such as spinning, weaving, pottery making. Now this had been the work of specific craft groups, and which belong to the lowest category, and also belong many of them belong to the untouchables. Who were the untouchables, by the way?
Dalit.
All right, means,
Ma'am,
and
Shudra.
Shudras, I know Shudras, among the Shudras, the lowest category, they were called untouchables. Why they were called as untouchables? Any idea? Yes, beta. Yes.
Yeah, because they did the work of cleaning.
Yes, all right. They did the menial work, like the cleaning of drains and gutters and all that. And so, it was thought that even if they touch the people belonging to the upper class people will become impure. All right. And so they were called as untouchables. And so the the learning of all these crafts, it belonged to the lower section of the society. And the one more thing, and according to the Indian traditional system of education, as well as the western or the colonial system of education, the knowledge and literacy was a monopoly of the upper caste, means education, the imparting of education and the acquisition of knowledge, the getting of knowledge and being literate, it was a monopoly or a specific right, you could say, of the people belonging to the upper section of the society. So education was for the upper section of the society, whereas these productive crafts were for the lower section of the society. But Mahatma Gandhi was saying that now this should be the mainstay of the Indian education system. And so Mahatma Gandhi's curriculum, of what he called as the basic education, it favored the child belonging to the lower section of the society, and in such a way so that the whole society, it transforms and it changes. And so it basically the Mahatma Gandhi's view on education, it basically tried to alter or change the meaning of education, and to establish opportunities of education even for the lower sections of the society. Now, why did Gandhiji propose the introduction of productive handicrafts into the school system? Now, what he really wanted was that the schools should become self supporting as far as possible. They should not be dependent on the government for help, need, money, aid. Alright, and why? Because there were two reasons for it. Now, the first reason was that India was a poor society, and so it was not possible for India to provide education for all the children unless the schools were able to generate revenue or measures for resources for themselves. Secondly, if the schools will become financially independent and they will not be dependent on the government, then in turn they will become more politically independent also and not be dependent on the colonial government. Now, above all these things, Gandhiji, he wanted that all people should be self-sufficient and autonomous. That people, even those people who belong to the lower section of the society, they should be self-dependent, self-sufficient, not be dependent on anyone, and also be autonomous, means should be free to do as per their will. And these were the important, now these were vital for his vision of an independent India. Now, this was very important for his vision, Gandhiji's vision of independent India. And Gandhiji's vision of independent India, it was made up of autonomous village communities. Autonomous means independent village communities which were able to create resources for themselves and not dependent on any other person or government. So those were Gandhiji's views on education. Now we'll have a look at Rabindranath Tagore's view on education. Now in 1901, Tagore, he founded an experimental school in the rural setting in West Bengal at Shantiniketan, meaning abode of peace, or where peace resided. And here he tried to blend the best in the Western and the Indian education system. And he started living permanently at the school, and the school later on became to be known as Vishwa Bharati University in 1921. Now, most of Tagore's literary work, it was written at Shantiniketan only, and Shanti.
Voice is cutting.
My voice is.
I'm not clear.
What about the rest? Are you able to hear me?
Ma'am, not clearly.
All right. Then others.
I'm not clearly.
Navya, Srishti, what about you?
Yes, ma'am.
Ma'am, it is stopping in between. Ma'am, in between you are reading the chapter, ma'am. Your voice was suddenly stopping and then it started coming.
All right.
ma'am.
So a little lag.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Network issues only.
Ma'am.
Hmm. Okay, so obviously, we cannot help it. Neither can you, nor can I. So if you miss anything, just go through the recording and you will understand that. Alright? Don't worry. Just go through the recording. In that, the voice will neither lag nor it will cut. Alright? And so don't worry about that. Okay. So we were talking about Rabindranath Tagore and Shantiniketan. Now, Shantiniketan was an experimental school, and Tagore based Shantiniketan on the ashram model. Now, ashram model means the Gurukul model, where the students, they left their homes and went and resided with the Guru at his ashram. Ambika, you mute your mic, beta. Okay, and so here he thought that it will be better if the students learn in the natural setting, in harmony, means in agreement with nature. And he wanted that, he felt that a well-rounded education should be using all the five senses, and it should be using all five senses and should not be only based on rote learning or just memorizing or learning or mugging up, but it should be in the lap of nature and using all the five senses. So that is what he wanted. And so Shantiniketan was located 100 kilometers away from Calcutta. It was set in rural setting, and here the children, they could come and cultivate their creativity while being in the company of nature. Now, Gandhiji and Rabindranath Tagore, they were two leading Indian thinkers in the 20th century, and many people, many commentators, they have written about them and they have tried to compare their ideas. Now, Jawaharlal Nehru, he wrote in his prison diary, means the diary in which he wrote whenever he was in prison, that Gandhi and Tagore, they were two different, entirely different from each other. Means these were two personalities, though they were very different from each other, and yet both of them were typically Indian in their thoughts and ways, and both in the long line of India's great men, and they both were among India's great men. And he said that it is not because of a single virtue that I am saying that they were great men, but because of the fact I felt that among the world's, but he said that it was not because of just single virtue that he's saying that they were among India's greatest men, but he felt that it was because of all the living great men of the world at that time. He thought that Gandhiji and Rabindranath Tagore were greater than them and more supreme than all the great men, those who were living at that time. Now, and then he said that it was his good fortune that he had such close contacts with both of them. Then Romain Rolland, he wrote to an Indian academic in March 1923 and said that I finished my Gandhi. So he was writing a biography on Gandhiji, and he said that in his book he has paid tribute to two great river-like souls. River like because of the attributes of river, you know, it flows, it is gentle, and it provides nourishment to all along the way. All right, and so he said that and that is why he has compared river to these two souls, Tagore and Gandhi, and said that these two great river like souls, they overflowed with divine spirit, not human but divine spirit. And in many senses, Tagore and Mahatma Gandhi, they had similar thoughts on education, and both were influenced by Western education, but still both looked for a unique, a separate Indian identity for the Indian students. And in setting up Shantiniketan, Tagore, he was able to fulfill his dream, and in 1902, Tagore wrote that he wanted to keep his students away from all the luxuries the Western culture could provide, and he also wanted to keep the students away from any blind attraction. Blind infatuation means blind attraction, and so he wanted the students to be taught the Yes, beta.
Ma'am, meaning of word infatuation?
I told attraction.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, any blind attraction, and thus led them in the way of the sacred and unsullied Indian tradition. So Tagore, he wanted the students to be away from all blind attraction and the running after about the luxuries of the Western life, and to be led in the sacred and unsullied, means unsullied Indian tradition which was still not spoiled, and which was pure. So he wanted the Indian students to be led by the Indian tradition, taught by the Indian tradition which was sacred and pure. And he said that I have it in mind to make Shantiniketan the connecting thread. So he wanted Shantiniketan to be the connecting thread between India and the world, and he wanted Shantiniketan to be a place somewhere beyond, means to be a place somewhere beyond the limits of nations and geography, a place where students can come and learn in the lap of nature, develop their creativity. He wanted it to be a place like that, and where the students can study about the pure Indian tradition and about the sacred tradition of India. Now, he was in favor of open air education as opposed to education which was imparted in the four walls of a classroom, and during its most popular or famous days, people from all over the world came to study at Visva Bharati, or they visited Visva Bharati. Now, according to Gandhiji, craft, art, health and education should all be integrated into one scheme. And so as per Gandhiji, he wanted education to combine craft, art, health and education all together in one. And so Gandhiji's Nai Talim, or the basic education program is a beautiful blend of all these four and covers the whole education of the individual from the time a child is conceived in his mother's womb till the time of his death. Um, Now during that time many other thinkers and individuals, they were thinking of a educational system that should be set up, but which was national in character, means Indian in character, and many of the people, they were emphasizing on mass education, that education should be imparted not only to the elite or to the high section of the society, but also to the masses. And while people, they had different alternative solutions, different systems, but the people, they simply wanted education, that education should be imparted in such a way that was truly national in nature and not western. So that was it. Have you all understood? Any confusion anywhere?
No, ma'am.
Alright, so I hope all of you have a pencil with you. Let's start marking the exercises and the question answers.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So, multiple choice questions. I want you all also to tell me the answers. Who came to be referred to as the father of Oriental?
William Jones.
First, let me read. Okay. First, let me, beta, listen. Let me read the question. Then you tell the answer. Okay. Who came to be referred as to the father of Orientalism in India? It is Sir William Jones. You already told. Now the second one. First, let me repeat the. Let me complete the question. Who said a single shelf of a good European library was worth the whole native literature of India and Arabia?
T.B. McLoy.
Okay, T.B. Macaulay. Which of the following is often referred to as the Magna Carta of modern education in India?
Wood's Dispatch of 1854.
Okay, right. Wood's Dispatch of 1854. The rest can also tell me the answers. Who emphasized on Nai Talim and basic education for children in India?
Mahatma Gandhi.
Okay, Mahatma Gandhi.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Who founded the Shanti Niketan in West Bengal?
Rabindranath Tagore.
Okay, right. Rabindranath Tagore. Okay, match the following now. William Jones.
Rabindranath Tagore.
William Jones.
Linguist.
Linguist. Thomas Macaulay.
Promotion of English education.
Okay, promotion of English education, right. Pathshalas.
Traditional knowledge system in India.
Right, traditional knowledge system in India. Mahatma Gandhi.
Opposed to English education.
Okay, opposed to English education. Rabindranath Tagore.
Founded an experimental school.
Okay, founded an experimental school. Now state whether the following statements are true or false. Sir William Jones founded the Asiatic Society of Bengal.
True.
Yes, true. Nathaniel Halhed edited the Amarkosa.
False.
Who did it?
H.T. Colebrook.
Yes, Coolbrook. Okay, Macaulay recommended English as a medium of education in India.
True.
Alright, the Christian missionaries were keen that children learn by rote and not understand the texts.
True.
It is not true. Okay, that is false, not true. Because the Christian missionaries, they laid emphasis on improving the moral character of the people. The moral character of the people. So that is number 4 is also false. And William Carey established the Serampore mission. True. Okay. Now fill in the blanks with the words given below. The father of Orientalism was?
Sir William Jones.
Okay. Jones and Coolbrook started a journal called?
Asiatic research.
Asiatic researches. Indigenous education was carried out through?
Pathshalas.
Okay, pathshalas, right? Madarsas and Gurukul. Most of dash work was written at Shantiniketan.
Tagore.
Tagore's. Okay. In 1854, Dash prepared his dispatch.
Sir Charles.
So Charles Wood. Okay,
Sir
that's
Charles Wood.
that's right. Now let's mark the short answer type questions. Okay, why does Thomas Macaulay think that the European education was essential in India? You come to the second page of your chapter. The second page of your chapter, second column, last paragraph. Second page of your chapter, second column, last paragraph from the first line. Macaulay opted for English. Got that line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so start marking from there. Macaulay opted for English because it had the necessary vocabulary for teaching modern science, philosophy, law, and history. He conceded, after conceded, add that. After conceded, add that. Then leave one line, come down. The fourth word. Leave one line, come down to the fourth word. When we pass, got that line?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, so
Yes, ma'am.
okay, so answer will be he conceded that when we pass from works of imagination to works in which facts are recorded and general principles investigated, the superiority of the European languages become absolutely immeasurable. Mark till immeasurable. Done?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was the effect of the Wood's
Yes, ma'am.
dispatch in 1854? Effect of the Wood's dispatch. Come to the third page of your chapter. Third page of your chapter, first column, last paragraph. Third page of your chapter, first column, last paragraph. Under the heading Wood's dispatch of 1854. And we'll start from the second line, last word. Got it? Wood's education dispatch. Got it?
Ma'am, your voice is not coming.
Your voice is not coming. It's not clear.
Alright, don't worry beta, have some patience, just network issues for time, then it will be okay. Okay, page number 3 of your chapter, first column, last paragraph, under the heading Wood's dispatch of 1854. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, okay, second line, last word. Wood's education dispatch formed the basis. Got that line?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, start marking.
ma'am.
Start marking from there. Come to the second column. It says in the first line, articulated system of education from the primary school to the university. After university, add it is. After university, add it is. Then continue, often described as the Magna Carta of modern education in India. Mark till India.
Okay, ma'am.
Alright. Okay, next one. Which educational institutions existed in India before the arrival of the British? Now this you can start from the question itself. Before the arrival of the British, add the. Before the arrival of the British, the. Then come to the fourth page of your chapter. Fourth page of your chapter, first column, first paragraph, fourth line, second word. It is written indigenous education.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, start from indigenous education till the end of this paragraph, that is significant role in Indian education. Got it all of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, next.
Ma'am,
Yes beta.
ma'am, after the word emphasize that indigenous education. From there only, na?
You have to start from indigenous education.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Alright, next is what was Mahatma
Thank you,
Gandhi?
ma'am.
Okay beta. What was Mahatma Gandhi's concept of education? Now this you will get on page 5. page 5 under the heading Evil Effects of Colonial Education. And we'll start from line number 5. Gandhiji wanted an education. Got that line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Can you
Or,
repeat again?
beta page 5 of your chapter, first column, under the heading Evil Effects of Colonial Education, 5th line.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Gandhiji wanted an education that could help Indians recover their sense of dignity and self-respect. Mark till self-respect, then leave 3 lines, come down. He argued that education ought to develop. Got that?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, till the end of that particular paragraph, body, mind and spirit.
Okay, ma'am.
Alright, next,
Till spirit?
till spirit. Next,
Okay, ma'am.
what was unique about the Shanti Niketan? The last page of your chapter, page number 6, first column.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. So, under the heading Tagore's Shanti Niketan, you come to 7th line, where the first word is Shanti Niketan. The first word is Shanti Niketan, right?
Yes, ma'am.
After
Yes, ma'am.
Shanti Niketan, add was. And start your answer from Shanti Niketan. So, it will be Shanti Niketan was an experimental school. Cut Tagore. So, Shanti Niketan was an experimental school based. Cut it. So, experimental school based on the ashram model with cut pioneering, with emphasis on learning in a harmonious and natural setting. Shanti Niketan was an experimental school based on the ashram model with emphasis on learning in a harmonious and natural setting. Mark till setting. Then come to the next paragraph. Mark that the Shanti Niketan was located 100 kilometers still in harmony with nature. Marked it?
What, ma'am?
Till where have you marked about Shanti Niketan?
Ma'am, your voice
Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Don't worry. I'll repeat again. What was unique about Shanti Niketan? Have you marked anything in here?
Ma'am, Shanti Niketan was...
Okay, Shanti Niketan was an experimental school. Cut Tagore. Are you able to hear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
ma'am.
Tagore, cut Tagore, based, cut it. So, Shanti Niketan was an experimental school based on the ashram model with cut pioneering, with emphasis on learning in a harmonious and natural setting. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright, then come to the next paragraph. Next paragraph, the Shanti Niketan was located till in harmony with nature.
Okay, ma'am. Got it.
Okay. Now, long type, we will finish the chapter today itself so that you have enough time to write the question answers. Okay. F1. Explain why did James Mill and Thomas Macaulay think that European education was essential. If you remember E1, we have written already what Thomas Macaulay thought that European education was essential. We have already marked that. So, E1 also will be a part of F1. And I will make you mark what why James Mill thought that in Western education was essential. And so you will write about James Mill first and then about Thomas Macaulay, or what answer you have already written for E1. Is that understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So come to page 2. Page 2 of your chapter. Second column, first paragraph. Fourth line. It is written the aim of education. Got that line?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Before that ad, James Mill declared that, right? James Mill declared that and then continue from the aim of education till literature of the Orient. Got it?
Yes,
Beta, page 2, second column,
Yes, ma'am.
first paragraph, from the fourth line, the aim of education, but before that ad, James Mill declared that, then continue, James Mill declared that the aim of education till literature of the Orient means the end of the paragraph. Okay?
Ma'am, can you please repeat it again?
Alright, page 2, second column, first paragraph, from the fourth line. Are you able to hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Have you marked or you need to mark again? You have not marked. Tell me. Should I tell again?
Ma'am, marked.
Marked?
Ma'am, not marked. Yes, ma'am.
Who has not marked?
Ma'am, Ambika.
Ambika, page 2, second paragraph. Second page. Page 2, second column, fourth line. Got it? Ambika,
Yes, ma'am.
got the fourth line, the aim of education?
Yes, ma'am.
Before that ad, James Mill declared that. Before that, right? James Mill declared that. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And from the aim of education till the literature of the Orient. So for F1, you will write this paragraph and then you will also write E1, what you have already marked for Thomas Macaulay. Is that understood? That will only complete F1. Is that understood, all of you?
Yes.
Okay. We'll leave F2 for now. We'll do F3. Discuss the main provisions of Wood's Dispatch of 1854. We will start the answer from the question itself. The main provisions of Wood's Dispatch of 1854 were, come to the third page, second column. 7 points are given here. Can you see that? Under the Wood's Dispatch?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, mark these points.
Yes, ma'am.
Mark all 7. Okay? Marked?
Okay, ma'am.
Alright. Now the last one here, that is F4.
Yes, ma'am.
F4. Describe the education system in pre-British India. For this, come to page number 4 of your chapter. Page number 4 of your chapter. First column, third paragraph. First column, third paragraph. The system of education. Got that paragraph?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright.
Yes, ma'am.
The system of education, after education, add in pre-British India. In pre-British India. Written in pre-British India?
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. So the system of education in pre-British India was flexible. Mark the whole paragraph. Till according to the needs of the students. There was more, but I think we should have this much. That is more than enough. Okay. Needs of the students. Yes, beta?
Ma'am?
Yes?
Ma'am, you have to cut the line, the system of education. And these words you have to cut from the answer.
No, beta. You have to, after these words, you have to add in pre-British India. The answer will start from the system of education in pre-British India was flexible.
Okay, ma'am.
You don't have to cut anything. You simply have to add few words more. That's all.
Okay, ma'am.
Alright, all of you?
Yes.
Okay, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, marked. Any confusion?
No, ma'am.
All right, so that
No,
would
no,
be
ma'am.
all. You can complete your work.
Ma'am, second answer is not
Ma'am,
in
when
course,
we
ma'am.
have to
Long
submit?
answer.
That I will let you know, beta. Huh? Don't worry. You just complete your work.
When we have
Next week you'll have to submit.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am.
All right.